So in the last video, I left you with this picture for how we're going to look at phases here. Again, this is the sunlight that's coming in from the right to the left, and let's just start getting at it then. So suppose then that we're a person here and we are standing here on the earth, and the moon happens to be right here. Here is the moon on this evening, whatever. This particular time doesn't have to be an evening. And so as I mentioned with this illumination model in the last slide here, this is the side of the moon that's always going to be lit up like that. And this side over here is going to be totally dark. So again, the moon is still all there. It's nice and round. It's just half of it's lit, half of it's dark, just because of the orientation of the sun, the moon, and the earth, just the orientation. So what would happen in this particular moment here is look at it very carefully and think a little bit what you'd see. In this orientation right here, what would you see? And my answer is that you wouldn't see the moon, because all you see is this dark side facing you, and you can't see darkness in the otherwise backdrop of outer space. And so that's why this phase here is called the new moon. Probably has something to do with the fact that the moon is just resetting in its cycle and it's about to become more visible. Okay, so it's the new moon. That's one of the phases that we see. And I think I showed it to you up here, is that sometimes in the phases like this, in particular this one right here, you don't see the moon at all, and that's that new moon right there. So you may as well just sort of go back and label this phase here like this is the new moon right here. Should be good if I can get rid of all these. Oh, there we go. The crossouts are gone. Yeah, there we go. Maybe I'll clean this up because we'll come back to it. So there would be the new moon right there. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so we go back to our drawing now that we're working on. Here we go. Now what will happen, of course, is the moon keeps moving in its orbit around the sun, and so a couple days later it's going to be here. Now what's very important to draw is be very careful with this illumination model now that we're working on, because remember that this half of the moon still faces the sun. So it's still going to have that same sort of illumination that I told you last time. This half here is always faces the sun, so that's going to be the half that's illuminated, and this half over here is going to be the one that's dark. Okay, and so now what the issue is, if you look up at the moon, what are you going to see now? Well, if you look up, the way I like to draw these things, which I think works okay, is that if you look up now and you see the moon, you're going to see a lot of blackness here and just a little bit of light. So sort of this little arch here, or U-shaped construct here, is sort of what my whole view would be. And just like when I was down here, the view that I saw was sort of the whole dark moon. But now all I'm saying is that the moon has moved up to here, and what we see here in this U-shaped arc is a little bit of light right there, but mostly dark. So we don't see a lot of the moon, but we do see just a little bit. And that would be, if I go back to my phases here, that would definitely be something like maybe this or this. So most of the moon is still blackened out, but we see just a little bit of it coming through. And remember, the whole reason why we're seeing any of this is just because the moon has moved in the sky and changed its orientation with respect to the sun. And this phase here is called a waxing crescent. Waxing crescent. And remember, what does the word waxing mean? Getting larger. Crescent, because it's sort of less than half a circle, or maybe just a part of a circle right there. So this is the part of the circle that we can see, and that's all the black bar right there. Okay, so there's already our first two phases. There's a new moon phase and a waxing crescent phase. So what we'll do now is just continue to let the moon move. And so let's say that the moon is now here. And again, we are consistent with our illumination here, that only the half that points towards the sun gets illuminated, you know, something like this. And the back side is not illuminated, something like that. Okay? So now the question is, what am I going to see if I look up at the moon? And once again, if I look straight up and I draw that sort of this little rectangular part, what am I going to see? Well, I'm going to see half the moon all lit up and half of it dark. And where do I see that up here? That'd be sort of up here, maybe about this phase right here. Half of it lit up, half of it dark. This is the section pointing towards the sun. Remember, the sun's rays are coming over here. This is the dark part. And I'm sitting down here looking up at the moon. So if I wanted to draw those little arches here like that, I'd look like that. I could see mostly darkness, but some lit. So it's all nice and consistent in there, but all we're doing is moving the moon around in its orbit. So there you go, waxing crescent. This phase has a name too. What do you think it is? I know you'd like to say half moon or semi-moon or semi-phase or half phase or something like that, but it's not called either one of those things. It's called the first quarter. Sorry about that, just the way the naming goes. And as you can tell, why would it be called that? We're about a quarter of the way through the month, right? Here's a quarter, another quarter, another quarter, then we're all the way around again. So sorry about the semi, call the first quarter. Okay, continue in the next video.